everything that you're about to see is 100% true.
The homelessness and the crime is up and the addiction is up and dropouts and single mothers. And I mean, everything that we would like to reduce is up. And they are being a completely a majority with Democrats. They are trying to change that right now. They realize they made a mistake.
You think?
But Uncle Chill does have a remedy for all this.
We got to be a little bit tougher. We have to expect certain things. When we keep throwing money at some of these problems, I mean, you asked me how I'm going to clean up Portland. Mm-hmm. I will deputize the Gypsy Jokers and the Mongols. I will put a Harley Davidson on every block. We will end crime that day. And I'm not joking about that. They're talking about school shootings and what are you going to do? We got to bring all this money. We got to have resources officers. I will deputize some good old boys that I know. We will make this go away real fast.
Well,
real fast.
And many people are wondering if we're ever going to get to this point. As tempting as it sounds, however, I don't think people will go for it. But don't worry, we will be talking about that over the course of this video here as we talk about why it is that these young people, especially these young men, need some form of coaching. And of course, with that coaching, we need accountability to come back. And by accountability, I mean self-accountability. That right there, my friends, was a former UFC fighter. And of course, he's actually here on YouTube, Chael Sonnen. If you guys remember who Chael Sonnen is, if you guys ever kept up with the UFC or MMA at all, then you would probably remember Chael for, obviously, the trash talk. The guy was absolutely hilarious. I mean, this guy going completely unscripted was better than anything Conor McGregor could come up that was completely scripted. Absolutely insane. Well, from what I understand, Chael is actually about to run for the governorship of the state of Oregon. Now, Oregon, of course, is a pretty daggone blue place. And what I mean by pretty daggone blue place, I don't mean the actual state itself. I mean the city of Portland. Now, in my previous video, I talked a little bit about the situation that's going on, of course, with squatters. And, of course, I'm going to be bringing some of that back up here in a second. And, of course, you got another YouTube personality out there saying it looks like vigilantes could be coming back. But I'll better explain that a little bit more here in a second. And I'll be taking you guys back to what was actually said here in a minute. However, I think a lot of this could be avoided, of course, if we could actually just simply reach people. Now, the cities, of course, they are, for the most part, already gone. Especially cities like, say, New York, Portland, Seattle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I did a video on Denver not too long ago talking about the same issue. However, in these cities, in the surrounding areas, you have these suburban towns, small towns, of course, that are close to the cities themselves. And I really and truly believe that a lot of our problems today are as a result of nobody having any actual self-accountability. Now, how in the world do you get self-accountability? Well, you obviously have to be raised right, and obviously to go on top of that, this probably does require some form of coaching, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video, even though this video talks a little bit about lynch mobs and vigilantes, and of course, all that type of stuff there, and of course, things that are going on like I always talk about. But the thing about this particular topic is that, of course, like in the previous video, I'm going to be showing you something that I showed you in the previous video that I'm also going to be showing you in this video here.
Hartford's Armed Self-Defense Brigade made the first of their community patrols Saturday morning on Garden Street. More than 24 people took to the streets armed with a mission.
We're cleaning up the community.
To clean the streets of both trash and crime.
We are tired of the crime and the violence.
The first Armed Neighborhood Watch began with the presentation about Connecticut's gun laws and what's needed to be legally armed. The organizer, Archbishop Dexter Burke of Walk in the Light Church of God, says it says a lot about how many young people are getting involved.
It tells us that there's hope, that young people are tired of the same old traditional bull that we've been experiencing, and they're saying enough is enough, they're rising up.
While Saturday morning's watch was accompanied by a community service event, most of the future patrols will happen when the sun goes down.
We'll be patrolling at night, so it's not just a one-time thing. It's going to be on a consistent basis.
Along the way, the group stopped at the scene of a homicide, which Archbishop Burke said led to these armed community patrols. 2
individuals got killed there, and we just decided it's too close to the church. Enough is enough. We can't allow it no more. That was the tipping point.
The brigade getting pushback from other groups in the capital city, including Hartford's mayor.
It's not the right thing for Hartford. We are a community that's faced such trauma that is trying to work together to heal, and we need all of our leaders, everybody who really cares about this city, to come together and try to heal as a community, not to inflict more violence, not to bring more weapons into this community.
But the group hopes to show the city this armed patrol could make a positive difference.
We need the police support, we need the city support, and we need the continued support of the residents here to continue to make this happen. And we think we'll get it.
And they want to make one thing clear.
We are not vigilantes. We have organized.
This community outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and as you guys could obviously see at the very end, the mayor of the city is not exactly happy, or the mayor of the small town is not okay with these people doing this, but these people got together and said, you know what, screw this right here. We are, for the most part, just going to go ahead and kind of patrol our own neighborhood, patrol our own area, ensure that crime does not happen here. It's called community policing. It's called taking care of oneself. And I've talked about this in previous videos before, that a lot of young people nowadays don't have anything to actually feel good about. And of course, in a lot of ways, this is one of the reasons why it is that they may be acting the way they are. Of course, parents are, and I've said this right before, that the best way to stop a school shooting or a school shooter is to simply raise a child. Provide some form of balance, be an actual parent. If you can actually do that, chances are a child will probably not have any types of tendencies to actually commit such an act. Same thing goes with crime. If you raise a child correctly, then obviously chances are the child will turn out to be pretty well off. This doesn't always work out, and of course I'm not going to sit here and give people advice on parenting or anything like that. I'm just simply saying basic common sense stuff. The fact of the matter is that young men, especially today, they need some form of coaching. And of course, this squatter issue got me thinking more and more and more that maybe it was time to talk fully about accountability, self-accountability, and actually helping people find accountability. If you do that there, chances are you probably won't find yourself strung out on drugs. Chances are you probably won't find yourself homeless. Chances are you'll probably find yourself with a job. And chances are you're probably working towards some form of nice career, family, stability, that type of stuff there. The American dream. But let's go back to this previous incident involving squatters, because I think that the squatter situation has revealed a lot, and I mean a lot, about our current society.
Doesn't miss this story. Woman in New York, her parents die. She inherits their home, and she says, I'm going to sell it. When she shows up to actually check on it, some people have moved in, changed the locks. When she calls the police say to these squatters, can you prove you live here? And when they can't, the police remove the men. The woman then goes to change the locks, but the police say, if you change the locks, we will arrest you. Don't do it. Even though it's her home and those guys have no proof they live there. She changes the locks. It's her house. The cops then come up. Before that, this guy breaks back in the house. The cops then show back up and arrest the homeowner for unlawful eviction. The squatters stay and say, take me to court. Next thing that happens is exactly what we warned was going to happen. Some guys show up and they said to the press, look, we're just going to talk to him. We're just going to talk to him. I wonder what they talked about. Because soon after, these guys split. Not all of them. One guy's on camera being like, I don't know who I paid rent to, but I paid rent, so I live here. And he just seems confused. And then
that's the guy who wants his deposit back.
Right.
He'll leave.
They were like, yeah, so you paid the squatters. But I'll tell you what I think happens here in this story. We'll get to that one. You know what would happen if these squatters stayed in the building? When two guys show up and knock on your door and say, we're going to tell you one time, you need to leave. That's all they're going to say. Not going to say anything else. And what happens next? These squatters will wake up in the middle of the night with a tap on their shoulder. And as soon as they open their eyes, there's going to be 2 or 3 guys in ski masks. And one guy's just going to rain a crowbar down on his kneecap. Smack!
There were about 4 or 5 videos done last week where Tim talked about the possibility of vigilantes or people showing up to people's homes and hoods and whatnot, telling people, squatters in particular, to get up and leave. The second time they come around, they bash their knee in or something like that there. And of course, the neighbors would eventually say, look, when cops show up, look, we didn't see anything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The type of stuff, like we didn't see what the hell happened, even though they knew what obviously happened. And as tempting as that may sound in some cases, especially with today, and of course, I keep thinking to myself at some point in time, vigilantism could in fact come back, or vigilantism could in fact take place in big cities like, say, New York, where you could have yourself another Bernard Goetz, or you could have yourself a situation where, I think it was Daniel Penny, that was locked up. And of course, I think they did that there to set an example, because what Daniel Penny was really doing was trying to protect the rest of the subway itself, even though the city of New York practically let another guy off for doing exactly what Daniel Penny did. The point is this right here. These squatters have no self-accountability. I mean, think about it really quick. To go take someone else's property, to move into somebody's property while they are trying to move in after they paid for said property. And don't worry, I'll link the previous video in the description box for you guys, and maybe even the previous one before that. You got to ask yourself a question. What kind of person does this? What kind of person goes out of their way to steal something that, quite frankly, belongs to somebody else? Now, we could always say this is the politics of envy. We could always say that it's basically just left-wingers showing exactly how jealous they are. But to literally steal something that's not theirs and then try to get away with it and utilize the state's laws to protect you rather than do the right thing, that tells me that these people have no form of accountability.
Appease the people of Multnomah County. They try to win them over every time. I don't know why they do that. I will annex Multnomah County. I will put it on Zillow and sell it to the state of Washington, and I will roll in and take Vancouver from them. I have no idea why they're trying to appease any of those people. I'll buy all their property. I will pay them, and they can leave. But when I say that, I feel like that's the biggest mistake they always try to make. Well, I'm gonna cure homelessness, and then nobody
Basically mean that their mama and daddy just straight up brought them up wrong. That right there is what the hell is going on in this case. So when I see people talking about a city like, say, Portland, and they're asking themselves, look, maybe what we should do is separate the city from the rest of the people and maybe the suburban areas, that maybe we can save that there. And, of course, the city itself just may, in fact, rot on its own. I don't want to see any American cities rot or anything like that, but I think it's beyond the point in time to where these places that continue to vote Democrat, and I mean they vote Democrat at a ridiculous rate, and then they put these extremely woke district attorneys in charge. It makes you wonder. It makes you honestly wonder if these places can ever be reversed. I mean, obviously they're lacking God. Obviously they're lacking Jesus. But then again, according to the Daily Wire, saying Christ is King is now potentially anti-Semitic. But still, the point is this right here. I think the cities themselves are beyond the point of no return. But if you have little communities within the city that can actually communicate, can actually clean themselves up, protect themselves, actually use what they can to protect themselves going forward and clean up their own areas, then I think that right there could, in fact, be a good thing. I mean, dude, as King Randall down in Georgia was teaching men a while back, or young men a while back, how to act when cops come around, of course, the woke mob went after him because he was teaching young black men how to act when police officers show up, because we've had a lot of instances in the past few years where young men get arrested or they're in the process of being arrested and then they decide to resist arrest when in reality, if they're not guilty of anything, they would just go ahead and go at the cops, so that way the cops can do their little investigation after, while detaining them, and they figure out that, guess what, this guy is not the guy that we have, and then the person can even file a report on said police officer who may have treated them badly. But no, what do they do? What do? They move around, they squirm, they take off running, try to grab your taser and whatnot. Next thing you know, you get shot in the back. That's how these things work. I mean, a lot of these deaths could be avoided if you would just simply stop and actually not resist arrest. But drugs and addiction, that right there is a different topic. But this is actually not just affecting the cities, not just affecting the environment within these cities. It's not just infecting the inhabitants. It's also infecting those, or it's actually affecting those who do the dirty work of society. And I don't just mean police officers and firefighters. I'm talking about educators, teachers, coaches, that sort of thing there. Let's watch some.
crime. They don't care about drugs. We burnt Portland to the ground, and the mayor joined in. They blamed Trump for an insurrection, which they couldn't even spell, in all fairness. They never heard the word. They couldn't spell it to this day. They burnt Portland to the ground on video. They threw the Molotov cocktails at all the buildings. They raided and destroyed everything, and then those businesses didn't come back. When the city didn't make any arrests, and it was on video, when the mayor came down and protested with the rioters, the business said, we're not coming back if we don't trust you. They went across the bridge into a state of Washington. It's only 7 miles away. And I mean, I just share that with you that that's not right. And that isn't what the people want. And they do a good job of getting them to the polls. And then they end up pissing off the Republicans because they try to appease Multnomah County. I'm not joking about that. And I realize I can't put it on Zillow and sell it, but I'll get a long way with that statement. And if I could put it on Zillow and sell it, true.
You guys are bluer than California?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, we were the first.
Oregon?
That's what he said.
We legalized drugs. We're trying to switch that right now.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask a follow-up about that. I remember in 2020, Oregon became the first state in the union to legalize and decriminalize all drugs.
All of them.
And Pat always talks
cocaine.
about anything.
All of them.
Pat always talks about bad policies have what? Consequences. Yeah. Now they're going back and they're like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
What would you do on the drug situation in Oregon?
But that was a
really
very
bad.
stunning one. And the theory behind it isn't the worst theory. The theory is that you reduce crime when you stop making it illegal. And drugs are about the only thing in the world that you sell and somebody has to die over it. So that wouldn't happen anymore. This was the thought. You wouldn't have to have crime. You wouldn't have to do that. In fact, it was the government that was opening these things, and they're going to give you clean needles. And it got weird. It got really weird, and I don't quite know how you go down that path ideologically. Like I couldn't imagine.
They did legalize drugs. You see, one of the ways that these people try to say, look, our crime rate is low, is by legalizing certain crimes. You see that in the state of New York. You see that in California. And of course, some of these people thought, well, you know what? Maybe it would be a good idea if we just legalize drugs. That would actually bring down our addiction rate, and maybe it would save the clinics some money. Well, if that right there was the case, which I don't fully believe that was the real reason for it, and I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but I just want to go ahead and point this out before somebody comes in the comment section and says some crazy stuff like, well, it would save the taxpayers of the state a lot of money. By the way, I don't think that 99.9% of people who live in Oregon outside of Portland are on some form of drugs. Maybe most of Portland is, but I'm not saying I believe that's the case. To anybody who would say something like that, my response to them would simply be, okay, so how did you get in the situation where you have to cut money by allowing people to take drugs, illegal drugs, drugs that could kill them if they use too many of them? Probably because you mismanaged the state long before that happened. The liberal way of thinking when it comes to stuff like crime, immigration, and of course drugs is not the way to go. And if anything, the actions that you've been seeing out of a lot of these people, and don't worry, we'll get to the Seattle mayor, the mayor Ted Wheeler, because Chaz Chop's going to come up in this video. Speaking of that, I'm going to be putting this video right here in the description box. It's one of the few videos that Dev has made that I actually like or actually agree with. Don't get me started on that. But of course, he chronicles the Chaz Chop situation, and he did a very, very good job of doing it. It's even, quite frankly, comical. I'll put it in the description box. The point is this right here. After a while of letting people do whatever the hell they want to do, after a while, something's going to happen. After a while, they're going to feel invincible. And of course, if you take something from them, they're probably going to bite back in a way that you, quite frankly, would not expect them to do. By the way, libs can't exactly see this. It's kind of funny. Think about it this way here. Let's say that you're someone like, and I'll say this right here because I'm a smoker, or I'm actually in the process of quitting. I've actually cut down drastically. I can't smell the cigarette smoke on me, okay? Maybe the libs, maybe they can't smell what the hell is wrong about them. I don't know what it is. From what I've seen, it looks to me like the lack of ability to look into the mirror. So how are we going to cure the drug problem? Well, we're just going to legalize drugs. Well, the only thing that's going to happen in that case is that people are going to get attacked on the street. More people are going to get hurt. And, of course, drug addicts are never going to be, fixed? Never going to be off the drugs? Oh yeah. There we go. We're going to end addiction by just letting these people, have drug overdoses like crazy. It's the same thing with the homeless problem too. Now, before I talk about scholarships, education, stuff like that, I want you to go ahead and note something right now. I'll be leaving the full episode in the description box. It was actually a very good, very productive episode. The thing is this right here. They were talking about the Chaz Chop and how it was that Portland had been burnt down to the ground. Okay, Portland too, but also Seattle. Chell lives up there in the Pacific Northwest, so obviously he would have an understanding. And he also, not only does he live up there, he's from there as well, so he has an idea of how the culture works. And of course, there's also a segment here where he basically said, look, I don't know why it is that Republican politicians have to act like they placate. A lot of this is because they're still very, very weak politicians. They're weak leaders. They have no spine. They have no backbone. They don't want to do or say what the hell that needs to be done. What Chell was saying earlier about putting the Mongols, a motorcycle gang, on every single Harley on every single street corner is exactly what somebody wants to do. It's basically the dream of people do. When in reality, what he would probably just do is just open up the funds to bring in more police officers and let them get away with a little bit more to get the job done. The point is this right here. Right now, at this moment in time, we are in a situation where crime is out of control, addiction is out of control, mental illness is out of control, and of course, this also includes homelessness. A lot of the reasons why we're in this situation is because of a total lack of accountability. That right there is the real reason why it is that we are currently in this situation. We'll get to the long clip here in a second. But the point is this right here. We're at a point in time now where I think people are almost afraid, almost scared to hold people accountable based upon the reaction that they would have. Think about it this way here. If you discipline a child, most of the time when you discipline a child, like if you just give them a good old-fashioned spanking or whatnot, normally if you're very quick and sudden with it, normally they stop. You tell them to stop. You explain to them later on why that's the case. Normally that tends to curb a lot. Now, granted, there may be other effective ways. I'm going primarily off of the way I was raised, how I was disciplined as a child, and how I've always disciplined nieces, nephews, stuff like that there. Fact of the matter is this right here. Accountability is what the hell is missing. So how the hell do we fix that accountability? Well, I'm going to let this one right here run a little bit longer so that way you guys can see why it is that educators are almost some of the ones who are getting screwed in this entire situation, and why it is that the educators need to, quite frankly, be brought back. Of course, we've also got a lot of woke teachers going on and stuff, but still, I will say this right here. A good teacher can make a difference in a child's life, and a good coach, a great coach, quite frankly, can make a difference in a child's life. Let's go ahead and roll this next part.
Of the cities, I know in Seattle, they think they had Chaz, these autonomous zones.
For goodness sake.
What was going on in Portland? At some point, you know, the left has gone too far left. They're no longer liberals and, you know, democracies with a lower D. It's gone full left. It's gone full woke. How would you actually change Portland and these autonomous zones and this woke lefty, as Elon Musk calls it, the woke mind virus? What would you do with that?
I have to tell you, I mean, this gets very philosophical, and I've been thinking about this since I was 9 years old. So I'm trying, as you guys are asking me, which I didn't know you were going to ask me about this. I thought we were going to be talking like O'Malley or something with the title fight. So I'm trying to find a way to compress this. But first off, it's the mindset. It drives me crazy. Now, my sister is the head of school board, and my mother is a teacher.
Wow.
I disclose that because I'm going to give a hard time to educators. I'd like people to know that I've lived this. I live with it. My family kicks in, but I have a tremendous problem. When teachers come out and say, you know, we don't have funding or the classroom sizes are too big, that's a problem for me. I'm a wrestling coach. I have never been paid $1, but I have brought in millions of dollars in the form of scholarships for the athletes I've coached over the years. There are 80 boys that show up on the football field at 3 o'clock, tired and full of testosterone, the worst kids in the school. Their mouths are shut. They learn exactly what we want them to learn, and we're not paid a single dollar as coaches. And I have a big problem when the teachers can't keep your attention for 30 minutes. I think that's...
I don't think it breaks a teacher's heart more than anything. Being inside one of these cities like, say, Chicago or New York or even Portland, Boston, where a child who has a lot of potential, maybe a child that may have come from a bad neighborhood, minority community, can even be good old-fashioned poor whites. I mean, I would hate to think that this child who has a lot of potential, does very, very good in school, and all of a sudden gets hurt or gets injured or possibly dies because of a bunch of other bad kids in the neighborhood. I would hate to think that right there would actually happen, but it does happen. I would hate to think that the next sports star misses an opportunity at a scholarship because said individual got killed in the drive-by. I hate to think about that. How in the world do you curb this? Well, you actually bring in people who actually want to do the job. Now, like I said, the cities are almost gone. But a lot of these people live outside the city, not in the cities themselves. We need more community centers. We need more actual teachers. We need more actual mentors. What Chell is talking about there is he's talking about mentoring individuals, especially kids when it comes to something like wrestling. We need to have football. We need to have our sports programs. We need to have all that stuff so that way our kids have got something to do besides sit around and play on the computer all day or play video games. Now, I'm not against video games. I've already told you guys this before. I believe in a happy medium. I believe in a happy balance. Fact of the matter is, a lot of times, a lot of cases, these teachers hard work dealing with these kids. And I understand that there are some teachers out there, especially those ones who got busted on Libs of TikTok, but I'm also going to tell you right now, there were a lot more out there who were not posting that type of crap, nor are those people who are actually woke or anything out there online doing this crap. They put in a lot of effort, a lot of time to make sure that these kids get brought up right because, quite frankly, parents can't do everything. Parents can do most of it, and everything, of course, starts at home. But if you've got good teachers and you've got good coaches, chances are you may not have to call the Mongols and put them on every single street corner. Chances are you may not have to bring the good old boys and put them in every single street corner. I understand a lot of these suburban areas, you got to go into the city of Portland. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, community policing starts at home, and it starts with how you handle things in your neighborhood. Chances are, if you bring a child up correct, if you actually teach them and do them right, chances are they won't become a squatter. Chances are they never will have somebody knock on their door in the middle of the night saying, you got to get up and you got to leave. Chances are, if you do that, or chances are if you raise them right, they will in fact become good, upstanding citizens, and therefore they will not have to have somebody hold them accountable. Fact of the matter is that self-accountability is the most important thing at this moment in time, and that right there is what the hell we need. And America's biggest problem at this moment in time is the complete, total lack of accountability. But then again, though, when you have politicians who put their sons on foreign boards like, say, Burisma, and then get a lot of kickback money and are also bought and paid for by the country and openly disavow the country, But what the hell do you think is going to happen? Monkey see, monkey do is what I have to say on that one there. And when you've got district attorneys who are backed by another big-time billionaire who's always wanted this country to fail, who goes out of his way to then arrest someone, then let them go and let them go back out into the street without holding them accountable, after a while, people will think they can just get away with anything and everything. What happens when said possibility, said child with potential who grows up, does very well, but then all of a sudden starts being bad, is never held accountable by his parents, coach, teacher, anything like that, even law enforcement? What happens when they run into the wrong hombre? What happens when they run into the wrong person? It's a short life is all I got to say. With that right there being said, guys, tell me what you think. Please leave a comment. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share this video. This video right here is actually going to be the second video tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and release my video on the Baltimore Bridge incident tomorrow right around lunch. Make sure you guys stick around for both. Please hit the like button. Please comment. Tell me what you think. And please hit the notifications bell, and I'll see you guys later.